The new year is here, and after an exhausting past 2 years thanks to COVID, many of us are hoping for a calmer and more normal life in 2022. This week, I'll take a look at the people to watch and the events to keep an eye out for. So stick around and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. In 2021, we were introduced to new black faces such as Nathan Maguire, Bianca Hunt, Fallon Gregory, and Kid Leroy. And now for 2022. While some of these people aren't necessarily new faces, they are people who I think will be making a big impact this year. Dorinda Cox, welcomed to Parliament last year as the first ever West Australian Indigenous woman, I feel that Dorinda will be someone to keep an eye on. With an election coming up and Cox in Parliament for a full year, the Greens senator has already proven she's a fierce woman who isn't afraid to call out her fellow politicians. Main White is a West Australian Aboriginal actor who will take the stage during this year's Perth Festival with his play City of Gold. City of Gold is an unflinching force of drama that urgently questions injustice and racism in Australia today and asks, have things changed? Also appearing at this year's Perth Festival is Aboriginal female rapper Barker. She made a name for herself last year, exploding into the public domain as one of the hottest rappers in the country. No doubt Barker's star will continue to rise this year. After more than 2 years off the field, the long-awaited return of AFL player Willie Rioli is on the cards for 2022. Rioli comes from a footy royalty family, but sadly, his career was put on hold in 2019 after he was banned for tampering with a drug sample. He was expected to make his return for the West Coast Eagles last year, but was sidelined due to an injury. Aboriginal artist Bobby Lockyer is another face to watch in 2022. The Port Hedland local became extremely popular among black and white Australians with more than 20,000 followers. Her designs have walked runways in Paris and featured at New York Fashion Week and in Vogue magazine. Bobby will be dropping her own clothing label, Ganthery, this year. 2022 isn't only the Chinese Year of the Tiger, it's also a year of many anniversaries in the black calendar. May will mark 25 years since the Bringing Them Home report was tabled in Parliament. The report was the first time many white Australians had heard about the stolen generations and the horrific effects it left on Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. May will also mark 5 years since the Uluru Statement from the Heart was delivered to the Australian public. The statement called upon the federal government to introduce a voice to Parliament, a Makarrata Commission, and a truth-telling process. This June will mark 15 years since the NT intervention. In 2002, the federal government staged a massive intervention in the Northern Territory to protect Aboriginal children from sexual abuse.
Exceptional measures are required to deal with an exceptionally tragic situation.
Without consultation, Aboriginal people's lives were heavily regulated and many felt ashamed and angry.
It's a racist policy because all it's doing is denigrating us, criminalising us.
December will mark 30 years since Paul Keating delivered the Redfern Speech. Never before and never since has a politician ever been so uncompromisingly honest about the assessment of Aboriginal history.
It begins, I think, with an act of recognition. Recognition that it was we who did the dispossessing. We took the traditional lands and smashed the traditional way of life. We committed the murders. We took the children from their mothers. We practiced discrimination and exclusion.
The Redfern Speech remains one of the most significant speeches delivered by a politician in Australia. Besides anniversaries, there will also be other major events happening this year. It's heavily speculated that the federal election will happen in May. Federal Health Minister Greg Hunt has already announced his retirement from politics, with all eyes on Prime Minister Scott Morrison as to how he will try and win WA votes from Mark McGowan's Labor stronghold. Legal cases expected in court this year includes the long-awaited Mr. Walker murder trial. The case has been postponed several times due to COVID restrictions. And of course, here in WA, we begin a new normal as our borders reopen and we prepare to live with COVID like never before. D-Day, or Open Day, will be on February 5 when our hard border is lifted and travellers are essentially welcomed back. Former Health Minister Roger Cook has warned that there will be a rise in COVID cases as WA learns to deal with the deadly virus. So how did I do? Is there anyone we should keep an eye on? How about an event? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, Paint It Black with Rangi Hirini.